Welcome to Phrasal Verb Practice. This is the place to learn real English, one phrasal verb at a time. My name is Marissa, and I'll walk you through this learning journey. Hi everyone! I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to learn and practice the phrasal verb back up. So let's talk about what back up really means, because it has a few common uses in everyday English. First, one very common meaning of back up is to support someone or something. When we say back up here, we mean to help, support, or stand behind a person or an idea. For example, I'll back you up if anyone disagrees. She backed up her argument with facts. He knows his team will back him up. Another common meaning of backup is related to technology. We use backup when we make a copy of information so we don't lose it. For example, always back up your files. I backed up my phone before updating it. She forgot to back up her computer. Now, backup can also mean to move backward. This is very common when we talk about cars or physical movement. For example, please back up a little. He backed up the car slowly. The truck backed up into the parking space. There's one more meaning that's very useful. We use back up when something becomes blocked or crowded. This often happens with traffic, work, or messages. For example, traffic backed up for miles. Emails are backing up in my inbox. Work backed up while I was on vacation. So, what's the main idea connecting all these meanings? Basically, with backup, the idea is support, going backward, or stopping problems before they get worse. Now let's quickly look at what backup means in other languages. In Spanish, it's apoyar, respaldar, hacer copia de seguridad, or retroceder. In French, it's soutenir, sauvegarder, or reculer. In Portuguese, we say apoiar, fazer backup, or dar re. In Italian, it's sostenere, fare un backup, or fare retromarcia. In German, it's unterstützen, sichern, or zurückfahren. In Japanese, it's jisairu, backup suru, or koutai suru. And in Chinese, it's jichi, beifan, or houtuai. So, when do people usually use backup? People use backup when they want to support someone. They use it when they want to protect information. They use it when they need to move backward. They also use it when something is delayed or blocked. And very often, they use it to avoid future problems. Let's review a few clear examples. She backed me up during the meeting. That's the support meaning. Don't forget to back up your files. That's the data meaning. Can you back up the car? That's the movement meaning. Traffic backed up after the accident. That's the blocked meaning. He always backs up his teammates. Again, support. Now let's talk a bit about how backup works in grammar, in a simple way. Backup can be separable or inseparable, depending on how it's used. When backup has an object, like files, a person, or a car, it's usually separable. You can say, back up your work. Back your work up. She backed him up. But if you use a pronoun, it must go in the middle. So we say, back it up. Back me up. Back them up. The usual structure is back up plus an object, or back plus an object plus up. When back up means something becomes blocked, there is no object. In that case, it's not separable. For example, traffic backed up. Work is backing up. All right, now let's practice. First, you're going to listen to a short text from everyday life. Then, you'll hear another text in a professional or office situation. Are you ready? Let's start. This morning started like most mornings. I woke up, grabbed my phone, and before anything else, I remembered to back up my photos. I learned that lesson the hard way a few years ago. While the coffee was brewing, I opened my laptop and took a minute to back up my work files, too. It only takes a few minutes, and it saves a lot of stress later. After that, I got in the car to drive to work. As soon as I turned onto the main road, traffic was already backed up. An accident farther ahead had everything stopped. I sighed, checked the clock, and tried to stay calm. A car behind me was too close, so I slowly backed up a little to give myself some space. It wasn't a big deal, just one of those normal moments that happen every day. While waiting, my sister called me. She was nervous about a decision she had to make at work. I listened, and I told her I would back her up, no matter what she decided. She laughed and said she just needed to hear that someone would back her up. Sometimes support is all people really need. When I finally got to the office, I saw that emails were already backing up in my inbox. I had been out the day before, and everything piled up fast. A coworker asked if I could help explain a project to the boss. I said yes, and I promised I'd back him up during the meeting. Later, when he got nervous, I could tell it helped knowing someone would back him up. In the afternoon, my computer froze for a second. My heart skipped, but then I remembered I had backed up everything that morning. No panic this time. Before leaving, I sent a message to my sister again, just to say I still back her up. At home that night, I smiled as I backed up my phone one last time. It felt good knowing things were covered. Great, that was the first text. How many times did you hear the phrasal verb of the day? Now let's move on to the second text. It was a busy Monday morning at the office, and the first thing I did after turning on my computer was back up my files. I had a presentation later that day, and I didn't want to risk losing anything. While the system was running, I checked my emails and noticed they were already backing up from the weekend. Nothing unusual, just the normal start of the week. During our team meeting, my manager asked me to explain part of the project timeline. A coworker looked a little unsure, so I jumped in and said I would back up his points if any questions came up. As he spoke, I nodded and added a few details to back up what he was saying. You could tell it made him more confident. After the meeting, we rearranged the room for a client call. Someone asked me to back up my chair so they could pass behind me. Small moments like that happen all the time at work, and no one really thinks twice about them. Later that afternoon, the IT system slowed down, and reports started backing up. People were waiting, projects paused, and everyone was checking the clock. I stayed calm because I knew all my data was safe. I had already backed up everything earlier that morning, just in case. A few hours later, a teammate sent me a draft email for approval. I replied quickly and told her I'd back her up if the client had concerns. Before sending the final version, we took one last minute to back up the shared folder where we store all official documents. By the end of the day, tasks were still backing up, but the team stayed focused. Before shutting down my computer, I did one final backup of my work. I left the office feeling prepared, supported, and ready for whatever the next day would bring. Great, that was the second text, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for following this channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.